Hey guys, welcome to another episode of The Rebellion.
Hey guys.
CJ and Rebel coming to you here. And it's hot where we are. It just dropped below 100. It's been about 109, 110. But that's nothing compared to folks who are actually suffering in the wildfires, who are being evacuated, who have lost their homes. It's just really bad, guys. So our prayers and our sympathies go out. You know, I know that the California wildfire season has just barely fucking begun, and it's a real bummer. There's already so much devastation and damage, and you know, it's tempting to just kind of tune it out, but we've got to be aware of how horrible this is, and just, you know, understand that there's some people out there that have lost everything, every memory, every stitch of clothing, every article they ever had, and they're homeless, and they're eating it, and their pets are out there, you know, and it's unfortunately probably going to get better before it gets worse. So our thoughts and prayers go out to those. Sorry about that, guys. Just some goofy thing trying to tell me I couldn't charge my phone through my PS4.
Yeah,
anyway,
okay.
Hopefully you're at a point in the U.S. somewhere where you're not doing too bad, you're not too hot, you're not too cold. And yeah, Colorado, my God. I think it's Denver specifically, but there's some place there where they're literally going from 100 degrees, right? 100 degrees.
Yeah.
Down to 28 overnight.
Oh, yeah, oh.
Like, it's literally going to go from roasting to
like, I had
freezing.
no idea. I was all, it's 108 where I am, but it's like, my friend Autumn was like, you know, it's 34 at night, and it's like 90 during the day.
Yeah.
And that's just madness. But we are blessed. I mean, if you look at China right now, we are so blessed, okay? We are not having it as bad as it could be. Okay?
Flooded.
Yeah, they're
Locusts,
flooded.
mites. Man,
it's end times level shit, okay?
Yeah, and that's what we're going to talk about this, guys, is even an old atheist or agnostic like me at this point has got to start wondering, what the hell's going on? You know, where's the world going? Sorry, guys, we'll film on the screen there and try to crop up so we can see ourselves a little better, and you can see us too.
Hey, guys. Hey, somebody. Hello. I'm so glad you're here. Let me know if you can comment, because they're always messing with us there. Hold on, I'm going to pack a bowl, because... as you know, hello, thank you for waving. Thank you for waving.
Anthony's back.
Thank you for waving. We're going to talk more about the cabal, but we have a little bit of serious stuff, but we're going to have energy work. I'm going to talk about Christ again and the Kalki avatar and what to expect, because I've learned some new intel about the deeper stuff over the little bit.
Anyone get a picture of it.
But go on with what you were saying real quick.
Oh no, just the simple fact that. You know, whether you're a believer or a staunch atheist or agnostic, you got to admit there's some fucked up shit going on in the world right now.
Yeah.
And a lot of it does tie in with biblical prophecy or corollary.
It does.
Or just what have you. And so we want to talk about that and the fact of the idea that, you know, regardless of whether you're a believer or a non-believer.
We're just got to be squished together. So like this. Okay.
Whether you're a believer
it's
or
cozy.
non-believer,
It's very cozy.
It really shouldn't matter in that, you know, a good person or a person of...
Oh, hello, Anthony. I'm so glad you're here. Oh, so glad you're there. Yeah. He lives nearby, actually. Oh, really? Yeah, like in Bakersfield, I think.
Either way, guys, you know, it should be the same thing. Whether you believe there's a great being watching down on you, regulating everything you do, or you believe there's nothing out there. I believe personally, at least, that your behavior should be the same, regardless of whether there's someone ruling over you and that's what's forcing you but impelling you to do it, or there's absolutely nothing there but your own morality.
Absolutely.
To me, it should be kind of the same. And at least from my own experiences in the psychedelic realm, when I've done that type of thing, trying to, you know, ascend to a godhead, trying to ascend kabbalistically or whatever.
Hello. So glad you're here.
Yeah, it kind of was made manifest to me that, you know, either way, man, you're going to arrive at the destination. You know what I mean? Either way, it's that destination, just which path you take to get there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whether you're like, I'm an absolute devout believer and I believe all the way, completely strongly, and nothing but this will, you know, never be shaken, or you're like, oh, this is all bullshit and there's nothing up there and I don't give a fuck. I mean, you're still going to come to the same point eventually at the end of the trail, so to speak. You know, just which path, and we need that. That's the point is that. So much what's going on now is the divide and conquer mentality. You know, you're on this side, you're on this side. You know, I'm on this side, they're on this side. And if you see all the media, it's suddenly reinforcing this, that you have to choose a side, you have to be in a given niche, you have to be in a little pigeonhole, you can't be gray.
Can I say something really quick?
Yeah, go right ahead.
There's in the esoteric world, the lowest realm, our realm, the earth realm, it's called Malkut, and it's symbolized by a black and white checkered floor. And the reason is because it's the world where we have the illusion that there's truly pure good and pure evil. And that's the whole thing. Like, it's like Republicans and Democrats. They convince you that if you believe in being a little bit kind to people, you want to give people a little bit of, welfare, then you have to buy into gun control too. Because if you believe this, you're a Democrat, so you have to believe that. And then you have to believe this other thing, and then you have to protect, and then you have to accept that Hillary was this.
You're not a good person because you're not following your party. It's like, well, it should be my conscience and honor first, and the party second. To paraphrase Mark Twain.
It's like an insidious program that's there to like trick us into doing stuff that we know is against our better judgment because we believe going along with the party or the group is actually the moral thing above what we think is moral. And that's how they get you.
More importantly, by forcing yourself into delineated stature, you force others into delineated stature. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to be your friend, but I'm a blue and you're a red. And you got your, and it really allows, even though ostensibly it's all about, okay, at some point we'll meet in the middle, the fact is you're not leaning toward the middle, like I said before.
It's used to keep us divided. Yeah. It's just used to keep us divided.
And to make you feel as if you don't have a right to your own personal choices within that, milieu, so to speak. Like, well, like I always said, I'm pro-pot, pro-guns, pro-choice. I choose, with what I feel to be correct and relevant, not based on what the party says or this line dictates, but my own personal experiences have shown me is best for me and ostensibly, hopefully, those around me. You know what I mean? And that's the thing, too, is this kind of selfish meism thing. And I remember, guys, same old thing in a new disguise, right? I'm a kid of the 70s, and I watched all this kind of shit go down in the 70s where they did the same kind of thing, trying to polarize people, trying to say, this methodology and this mindset's very good. If you absorb it, you're a good person. If you absorb this, you're a bad person. They start saying, no. On the contrary, if you absorb this mentality, you're a wimp and a loser. And if you absorb it, and again, it doesn't allow any side. Like this side says you've got to be very soft and super feminine all the time and utterly nothing but caring and condescending. And their side says, no, you got to be harsh and like a rock. And there's no real room saying, well, I'm harsh some of the time, but I allow softness in myself when I feel it's appropriate, or I like to be gentle and soft, but there's a hardness.
It's basically the whole thing is it's like the Garden of Eden story where you learn the difference between good and evil. Well, I would propose to you that the story is completely reversed. That good and evil, the whole idea that there's pure good and pure evil is in itself the lie that we're trapped in, not understanding that there are shades of gray and that situational things. Some things are purely moral. People can say there's no sliding scale of morality. That's true in many, many ways, okay? But for instance, you don't need a piece of paper to prove that you love somebody, and it doesn't really mean you're married. You're married if you're committed and you're situated and you're there with God, okay? It's not pieces of paper don't mean anything. Yeah, that's what I thought, yes.
Like Anthony, man, I mean, I have nothing but love for Bakersfield, but as you well know, it is a place where working class, has its share of negative influences, the potential for negative mindsets, and it's all too easy, as it is in so many places, for you to be just drawn into kind of a cultural whirlpool. A friend of mine once said at San Fernando Valley, he goes, the valley's like a giant whirlpool. Hey, Jenny. It's so good to see you, Jenny. Thank you. It kind of sucks you in, eventually sucks you down. In a lot of ways, it's true in the sense that, like, especially that time period in the 80s, it was such a strided, cliquish, mentality.
Yeah.
If you were in this group, you had to look like this, act like this, speak like that. And I was always getting shit between kind of stoners and the nerds, so to speak, because I was a smart kid. I loved to read. I was very articulate, very literate. And I love popping bowls. And my student friend's like, you're cool, dude, man. You like the music, and you got the long hair and all that shit, but, you talk with fashion, like all that shit. The chicks don't like that, man, right? And then my other friends are like, hey, man, you're a smart guy. I don't know why you're hanging out with those scumbag, dirty pothead losers, because the chicks don't like. And it's funny to me how both of you guys are trying to manipulate what the girls do or don't like. And the irony is that at least here, the women seem to have a little bit more cultural fluidity than the men do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Albeit in terms of, who they're allowed to be friends with and not. But the guys, it was such a, you've got to be this, you've got to be that. And I know it's hard for people born past 2000 to really understand, especially in California, how niched out it was, and the people at the Breakfast Club. But it was true, man. You did not deviate from your group. If you did, you were socially ostracized.
This is what the kids, they look back at the 80s the way that people, when I was a kid, looked back at the 50s, because it's so foreign now, and it is, because I mean, when I was a kid, I was autistic before they even knew girls could be autistic. So I was just weird and didn't fit in anywhere. I was the only girl who didn't do their hair in that giant, remember, like they do their hair like that?
Yeah.
With the whole hairspray. I never did that. I hated that. I didn't fit in anywhere. I got made fun of for being pale. Being pale wasn't cool then. Being pale was like, I got actively called out constantly for being too pale and not making myself tan.
It was California cancer. I remember coming here to San Fernando Valley, right? Or no, sorry, down there in the San Fernando Valley, going to school, going to your high school, and all these guys go, "What's up, Val? You're a Val."
Yeah, it was kind of
And I'm
weird.
like, Val? Like, you mean A-L-U, a Val? I'm like, no, dude, you're Val. I'm from the Valley. And I'm like, yeah, we're all in the Valley, idiot. You know what I mean? No, beach guy. Like, okay, maybe, you know, and my friend goes, listen, dude, he's an idiot, right? What it is he lives here with his dad, and his mom's got some little beach pad. He likes to go out the weekend and pretend he's a beach kid, but he's not a real beach kid, man. I was a real beach kid. I actually lived in Venice for years. That guy's a poser. Don't let him bug you and shit. But I was like, what's this Val shit? And again, it was just like, you know, it was this weird, strided, fit in the little niche or don't, you know.
Yeah,
like
but what's nice is that we've grown, though.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, even the kids have grown a lot, although they haven't grown as much as some of them have not grown as much as others. But they've grown.
Those who have sought out higher mysteries, kudos to you, and that's an indication that you've always been guided by something that even with all this pressure trying to force you to move a certain way, to go a certain way, to be a certain kind of river. It's like, no, I'm going to find my own path, even if I have to carve it out through the dust of the desert myself.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So be proud of yourself, guys, because it is so hard to go against the grain. It is so hard to say, no, man, I refuse to take the left. There's a great song by a band called Cockspar called Watch Your Back, and it basically it's like, you know, left wing, right wing full of hate. We don't want to fight just because you tell us to. So watch your back. When you attack, we might just turn on you. And that's the way I've always felt. Like, I'm not going to fight your battles. I'm not going to fight your battles. In fact, I'm not going to fight anybody's battles, man, because I'm not here to battle. I'll defend if I have to.
I would say everybody that I see right now, even people that I used to follow a lot that are out there that are talking about these subjects right now, I think are being used as part of an agenda. I don't think they're lying. I think they're all being honest, but I think they're being used as part of an agenda. So I think that's why they're letting them be big right now, partly. Because they're saying certain things, like there's certain New Age people who say stuff like, you know, don't wear a mask, for instance, we can just wish it away. This doesn't acknowledge that there are higher powers in the universe besides us. That's the problem, is that when we say that we can just wish everything away, to a degree you can, but it's like you're a baby god. You're a proto-god, and not everybody here makes it to full godhood. And you have to, basically, there's somebody above you who is watching over you. And that's where you have to be respectful. That's where the humility comes in. Right. Okay.
And that's what you all got to remember, that it's all illusion, guys. It's all illusion. The illusion of self is illusion. We were watching this great little thing about Taoism and other thoughts and the rainbow body. And that's the whole idea. That the self is, and it's true, it's an illusion in the sense that it's we are all truly connected. We are all truly one. We are all like this one thing that manifests itself from an entity of unity into kind of like tendrils. Think of it kind of like just, you always had eyes, and these are just more like little eyes, or more like little mini consciousness, the eyes and ears and conscience of the creator of the universe that allows itself to express itself more. You know, the problem is when you get hung up on the self, the me, the I, you know, the name, the visualization, the whatever, you know what I mean? It makes you truly forget that everything is interconnected, and even the people that you kind of don't like or would like to be around are still, at some level, connected to you. And it's just all about letting go of that aspect of yourself and forgiving it and just moving on and being at peace and being contented regardless of how much negativity there's around you.
This is a lesson that I'm learning all the time, even right now. You know?
Sometimes you just got to let it go.
But you got to be a good, you know, it doesn't matter. You can't let everything bother you, and that's my problem. Everything bothers me. So but listen, we're going to have to get to some more serious shit pretty soon. But is anybody wants, I want to do some energy work for you guys, some healing energy for you right now today. And, you know, we can do some other stuff, but I definitely want to get into some more serious stuff for just a second.
Her dad's in the next room.
Yeah, my dad's in the next room, and I don't want to. But it's okay.
So, yeah, anybody want a reading, any questions, please, guys, chime in. Any comments, questions,
Yeah.
things you got to
But basically, I'll get into some more serious stuff for a second. It does look, I've been doing some research, and it does look like there are a lot of busts going down for child traffickers. A lot. Like more than you think. More to the point where they used to tell people if your kid was gone more than 24 hours, they're probably dead. I think that they were lying. I think that if your kid is gone more than 24 hours, they're probably being trafficked. And that telling their parents that they were dead was the most messed up stuff, because they were probably out there and they just weren't going to look for them, for some reason.
Well, I think it's just they understood that after a certain point, there's only so far you can go
to get them back.
You're going down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, then you're getting into government stuff, and it's getting scary,
Yeah.
And it's like, but yeah, your kid is out there, and that's what's messed up, But it's like, yeah, they've been over and over again, and there was one many years ago that actually was, there was a History Channel documentary that was pulled because it was so hot. It was about a child trafficking ring, and it was a part of a government thing in a state. I don't know if it was, I don't want to say what state it was, but it was in the middle. It wasn't on the coast. It was in the middle. And
correlated to a little mini riot occurring in Wisconsin right now.
Yes.
There's a house on 40th Street, suspected child trafficker, and the public's had enough. Now,
yeah,
you can see
exactly.
They're storming this place.
Exactly.
They're smashing the windows. They're chucking rocks. They've had enough.
And there's a channel called Real Women, I believe, on YouTube. It's just woman after woman talking about their experience being child trafficked. These women who actually were lucky enough to get away, because some of them have been lucky enough. Because when it's happening on a huge scale, some people do get away.
Yeah. There's a really good channel, Soft White Underbelly, and you can hear from these
another good one.
Their own stories, and people will tell you, oh man, that's exaggerated, or I don't think it's like that. And I can tell you from personal experience, okay, having walked a pretty rough portion of my life, that right now, within 40, 60 minutes of where I'm at, I can drive you to any one of half a dozen locations that are actively filled with prostitutes, a goodly number of which are, if not being actually trafficked per se, are under some sort of onus, some sort of threat, some sort of whatever, you know what I mean, in combination with addiction, keeping them there, and that maybe not 10 minutes from where they are, I could find you one or two places completely nondescriptly outside where you have literal human slaves locked there, chained to the floor, available for the right price to anybody, and it just goes on.
Massage parlors that have specifically Asian massage parlors, a lot of those women are illegal aliens and are slaves, and they're sex slaves too.
Crime groups are racial. And races don't fuck with the races. You guys do your shit, we'll do our shit. If you do that shit, that's your shit.
It's messed up. It's so bad.
But you don't intrude on other people's areas, and if certain groups choose to, for whatever reason, engage in that particular criminality, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know what
I mean, the thing is, this is why it's good we need to know this stuff so that we can actively, I'm glad to see people marching for Save the Children. Because listen, I don't support Trump because there's a deeper level to this that people are being fooled with. There's a lot of crap out there. It's like deliberately to fool us.
Is it for the record, did I ever personally get to witness anyone like Jane Floor? No, because if I had, despite all costing myself my person, I would have done something to free him. Okay, but I'm aware enough to be in a situation where, I'm just about 99.9% sure, that within 10, 20 feet of where I'm at, there's someone who's being held captive. You know what I mean? It just goes with the turf. You know what I mean? Just like a lot of adult sex shops where one wasn't have some really pervy shit going on in a long time. There was one we knew about in Hollywood. Nobody could prove a goddamn thing, but everybody knew this guy was a fucking chomo, man. You could smell it on him. You could see it on him. You know what I mean? And thankfully, someone just said, fuck it, went in there one day and put a round through his greasy fucking head. And when they went to the basement, they found an entire little workshop cranking out all kinds of fucking shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Like,
right
even though there's people within certain communities that are good people, like you might know so many good people who are like Satanists, who are in the BDSM community in Hollywood. And there's a lot of good people, but that same BDSM community is what led to NXIVM. It's literally how she got into NXIVM. She got with this guy, there was a whole BDSM aspect to it, and that's how she got sucked into it. Okay?
You have to remember, when you're in an underground situation, whether it's the bondage world, this world, that world, whatever world it is, okay, a goodly portion of people are going to be just that, goodly. A goodly, huge chunk are going to be just kind of neutral, and there are going to be a few scumbags You know what I mean? They're going to take advantage of the situation to get some really dirty shit done. And it's really hard to regulate, but you've got to keep an eye. You've got to watch it. You know what I mean? It's just incumbent upon you.
Okay. Well, I'm going to play this really quickly. It's 6.5 minutes.
Right. But yeah.
It's just, when you want to listen to it, when you're ready, listen to it. It's this lady's story. Okay. I know what I don't think he's...
The point is, guys, that, like I said, I think a scene, and if it's between two consensual adults, that's great. But there's a lot of people out there for whom their kink is a non-consenting person to have control over.
Yeah, and that's not okay.
Yeah, it's illegal. It's immoral. It's fucking horrible. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's so messed up. There are so many... The thing is, we have to be aware of these things. It's honestly, it's the activity. Like, it's not like you can't be into BDSM. It's that you have to care about other people and actually not want to hurt them, okay? You can't be about you above them. That's the whole thing. That's part of our Tantra thing, too. It can't be about you above them, ever. That's not okay.
And you have to be able to give credence to people who tell you a story. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you, Jenny. You're so sweet. China doll. You've got to be aware and willing that some people are out there just like, no one will listen to me, no one will hear me, no one will believe my story. A lot of people have said, I complained to this person. I went to this, official and nothing was done. So why would I just tell some random stranger on the street, this is happening, please help me?
Okay. Well, I guess I'll get into a little bit about what I was going to say because it leads into the energy work, into the Kalki avatar stuff. Okay, so basically it's starting to look like, although there are two cabals, someone or something is influencing both of them. In my opinion, they're being influenced. Something is influencing both of them, and it's coming through Israel and Netanyahu specifically. Epstein was in Mossad, and that's a huge deal. This explains why he was doing what he was doing. He was getting blackmail on presidents. This is one of the reasons, in my opinion, we give them so much money. I support Israel as a country. I support its right to exist, but I don't support, obviously, evil, So this is why I'm talking about it, okay? And it's this same one, and Israel's also connected now to the other cabal, which is the one currently winning. There's the bloodline cabal, and that involves the royals, which have now been exited from the palace permanently. They no longer live at the palace at all. Okay, the Queen is not there. Prince Charles will not be there. This is official from the top. Okay, and I've been watching this since before they admitted it. Okay, they've been firing people for a while because they're not coming back. Okay, so that's the bloodline, and the bloodline one is where a lot of the gun control stuff was coming from. You're still seeing a little bit of it. It's gonna fade away. Watch. The gun control stuff is just gonna fade away because that was coming out of the bloodline ones, and they're not even proper bloodlines, which is probably why they were asked to leave. To be honest, they've been illegitimate for generations. That's why Victoria intermarried with so many of the royals in Europe, because they weren't properly royals, actually. They were fake, since way before Elizabeth I.
They called the Kardashians, basically.
Yeah, someone was illegitimate in their line. And anyway, it doesn't matter. That's why they're not there anymore. They're not really, they don't represent what they pretend to on a cosmic scale. They're supposed to represent this ancient empire that's like, that was started before Babylon, and it has to do with space and all this shit, but they're totally illegitimate, and they knew they were, so they were totally letting them just basically fuck themselves, for one thing. The Rothschilds are part of that. They're connected to that, basically. So the whole central bank and bloodline thing are basically kind of together, except that central bank is kind of still part of the central thing. Now, a few years ago, China decided it was going to get rid of the dollar as its base, okay? So did Russia, and we've gone to wars. If you didn't know, the original Iraq war was actually about that. The second one was about that too. When we went to Libya, that was because they got rid of the dollar as their main currency for oil. That's the only thing that was holding us together, is that everyone in the whole world had agreed to only use U.S. dollars for oil. And all these countries, and then when China decided to go back to the gold standard, and to get off of that whole thing, that started the road we're going down right now. That started COVID. That started everything, because China started to decide it didn't want to take our shit anymore, and Russia didn't want to take our shit anymore. So they started doing all this, and the central banks knew they were about to fall. Okay? So the central banks fell apparently last September, along with the repo loan thing that fell. And in order to cover it up, this whole COVID thing was kicked off to explain the giant crashes in Wall Street, to explain all that stuff. Now, COVID is real. It's a real disease. It was manufactured, and according to a Nobel Peace Prize-winning scientist, Luc Montagnier, I believe his name is, he discovered AIDS. According to him, it's a manufactured disease that has the AIDS that has HIV in it. It has SARS, Kawasaki, and this is why it manifests in so many weird ways. It's a cold that is hiding all these other little particles of diseases that are really, really messed up for you. So it is real, but it's fake, you know, in that sense. And that's one of the reasons we're in this situation now. It's also part of the end times thing because there's a whole thing with the poles shifting, and once they start to shift past a certain point, they start to really affect you, and it affects you for a period of time. Basically, for as long as it takes to get through these rough points, it's almost like a sacred geometry thing. When the poles are shifting, they go through some points that create trauma. They create like psychological issues. And this is one of the reasons we see people going off. But it's this same energy that actually creates the extra earthquakes, the extra volcanoes, the extra, and you know, all the locusts, everything. It's all interconnected. It's literally like we're just picking up on the energy of the change in the same way an animal would if they were to pick up an earthquake was coming. We're just stressed out because we sense the energies. That's kind of what's going on. So it's literally all interconnected. The geological pressure that the pole shift creates earthquakes and volcanoes. And the energy of all that, along with our weakened, you know, magnetic field and the sun putting stuff out, it affects our psyche. It affects your energy field, and it really, truly affects your psyche. So people are going on, and people who have more darkness in them tend to be the ones who want to go out and riot or do crime or do bad stuff. You know, people, it's still, even if mostly if you're trying to get involved, you're doing it because there's some darkness in you. But if you're trying to do good, obviously that's the way to go. You're trying to do good, you're trying to create change. That's just the time to do it anyway. This is the time to create the change right now, you know? And, but like,
well,
yeah.
Wait as long as we can, guys.
Yeah, we're going to show it.
Set in his way, he's just going to poke around there and rattle dishes and bang pots and pans and shit. So
Let's just play it.
Yeah, we're just going
to play it. We're just going to play it. It's 6.5 minutes. It's a hard story to listen to, but it confirms a lot of stuff from Pizzagate. So.
And I'm currently the leader of an organization that brings yoga into freedom. I'm also a survivor of child sex trafficking. I was raised in Belgium and sold into a murderous pedophile network right around my 6th birthday. I was used in this network for 5 years and a half. Adult men that were part of this exclusive club were there for various reasons, but there was a lot of alcohol, a lot of drugs, and the children were the commodity, the highest, the most valued commodity, and were used for sex mostly. But there were a number of aristocrats that were part of this club who also liked killing children. And then my time had come. At the age of 11, I was about to be killed. I was tortured because someone who had protected me for a while and then abused me really badly was done with me. I was strapped to a butcher's block that was black from the blood of all the children that had come before me. I was there for a few hours, body is full of scars. And every scar reminds me of the moment. I thought that I was going to be killed like all the children that weren't loved enough to live. And I was going to be forgotten as well. And I wasn't ready to die. Someone from inside that network loved me enough to rescue me. That torture lasted a few hours. However, I was in that network for 5 years and a half. In that time, I was raped many, many, many times. I don't have any scars to show how many times I was raped. But I did the math. Usually it was a whole night in a weekend. And so I gathered that I was raped, actually raped, for about 6 hours a week. 1,716 hours of rape before I reached the age of 12. I grew up with instructions that were given to me by the person who rescued me, that kept me out of prostitution, kept me away from drugs, led me out of the country, Belgium, where this all happened. As a young adult, though I didn't have any scars, I had been projected upon so much as a sexual object.
I think we should stop it if you don't mind.
No, it's
so bad. Like she's
such a brave woman. She's endured so much.
Oh my God, it's just so.
And we're so sorry.
I'm sorry if it was hard to listen to. I know somebody had to pop. I don't blame you. It's a hard one to listen to.
And to have her down in there, just because unfortunately he's one of the kind of guys that tends to be overly cavalier about these things. Like, I mean, he doesn't have sympathy, but he likes to make fun and mock and laugh. And the girl's like, oh, yeah, I'm not going to stop what I'm doing just so you can do something very important. So we apologize, guys. Unfortunately, we have little or no privacy. Any other adult son, you can hear his little video game bleeping and blooping, and we're not trying to do anything to make light of this. It's just that no matter how seriously we take it, we have that home environment where we're just constantly kind of being toyed with.
It's,
Anyway, this woman's name is Annika Lucas, Anneke, last name Lucas. You guys can look her up on YouTube. And yeah, those are saying these. I've been aware of these networks here abroad since I was a young man, and I was telling people years and years ago, listen, man, these people have an agenda. Okay, they have a network. They want to make it legal for adults to have sex with children, and they're going to try to do their level very best to do so. And bit by bit, little chip here, little chip there. They're making, again, it's a frog in a frying pan syndrome. I know this story. Basically, the idea is you take a pan of water or boil, and you boil it, and you throw a frog in there, he'll hop out, same as you or me, anybody else. Boiling water, screw it. But if you put him in a nice cold pan of water, he'll just sit there. If you turn the heat on, very slowly, very gradually, he'll sit there and become very uneasy. And pretty soon he's frog soup, and he kind of hopped out the whole time, but he didn't. And that's what they're doing. A little bit here, a little bit there. Very steady burn, very slowly. First, we begin to sexualize children a little more. We begin to say it's okay for children to be sexual. It's okay for children, and it's fine for children to be sexual. Children are sexual beings.
With each other.
It's not, even with adults. The difference is, an adult, look, man, I was a horny little kid. I get it, okay? But the adults around me were like, that's fine, but we're adults. And when you become an adult, you understand it. As you do become an adult, yeah, I get it, man. They're squirmy little kids. They don't understand because all they know is their need, just like little kids wanting candy. Too much candy. And if you did, you'd be sick. Okay, same thing. If you do this thing, it's sick. Adults know better. It's not on the kids. It's on the adults. Okay, kids are going to be what they are. It's up to adults to rationally, lovingly kind of guide them and nurture them and steer them in such a direction, whatever it may be. But it's not okay for adults to sexualize children, to act like children are supposed to have a sexual persona.
They don't feel like there's anyone they can trust if adults do that shit to them. And it's destructive to the soul.
If a little girl wants to play dress up, or a little boy wants to play dress up, and they want just a little princess or a king or a queen or whatever, and they want to wear lipstick or whatever, that's fine. That's fantasy, Okay,
Yeah.
that's an external thing.
Exactly.
It's when they're sashaying and they're making.
Well, this is like Desmond, like
yeah.
the drag kid. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
That's how they take advantage of something like the trans movement, which has nothing to do with drag and really very little to do with drag, and nothing to do with drag kid, because drag queens are cross-dressers. They're not really transsexual. Some of them are transsexual, but for the most part, the term drag refers to people who cross-dress.
Right. Like my brother,
women.
for example,
Okay.
God bless him, I don't know this very much.
Okay.
Gay man, like to basically be a fairly athletic kind of guy,
Yeah.
but every now and then would cross-dress, at a party or at a bar, wherever, where he felt safe, obviously, because it was the 80s. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and,
obviously.
And I also lived with my ex-girlfriend. It was on La Brea and Santa Monica, and that was traditionally where you would have the transvestite hookers tend to hang out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And
that's a Hollywood thing.
For a lot of them, it was just, it was a rough life anyway. And then having to turn to street prostitution, everything else. And it's just amazing how far we've come socially in terms of acceptance.
Yeah.
In terms of allowing people to be who they are without being threatened with violence or hatred. And I'm very proud of that. By the same token, I think in a lot of cases we've checked out the baby with the bathwater, and this myth of like, because my sexuality, your sexuality, it permeates all aspects of my life, and that makes it okay for me to have a different attitude toward children than does you. And my attitude is no one fucking does.
No, it's not. Exactly.
Okay? I don't care who you are, as long as what you're doing between two consenting adults, more power to you. No fucking children, no fucking animals, period. Okay? I don't feel how good it feels when Rover licks your pussy. That's fucking gross.
Yeah.
Okay? I don't give a shit if your dog whines because you're fucking it. You're a piece of shit. Now, that's my own personal beliefs, whether they're codified in the law or not. Again, I'm not going to personally, hunt you down and fuck with you if you happen to let your dog lick your pussy. That's just horrible, whatever. However, if I think that you might be the kind of piece of shit that's fucking a 6-year-old,
he will kill you.
I don't see it on camera. But yeah, I'm just, again. I mean
that hyperbolically. I don't mean literal. I mean that my spirit will fly out of my body and find you in the night. That's not physical.
Enough not to do something so heinous and nasty, but that's the problem. People cannot conceive of others out there. People like you and me, unless you've been around them, cannot conceive of how truly horrible, how truly evil, how truly malicious, how truly fucked in the head these fucking scumbags are, and how fucking many of them there are out there, guys. I'm sorry to tell you this. This world is full of truly horrible, disgusting, evil people. Maybe they weren't born that way. Maybe they didn't think, along the way. But at some point, they made themselves that way. I fucking promise you. They were given a chance and a choice, and they made the wrong one. And another chance, and all the way down their line, they deliberately, willingly, knowingly said, yeah, fuck it, I want to be a fucking scumbag. You know what I mean?
Let's talk about somebody for a second. I wasn't going to mention, but somebody who, for a second, who's just a great example of this. Chrissy Teigen, who's John Legend's wife, several children, all cutesy. Oh, it's adorable. She was on Epstein's Island. She's known to have been on Epstein's Island. She was a Victoria's Secret model. She was probably a victim, to be frank. She was probably a victim.
Definitely got that feeling about it. If she was.
And then she posted 60,000 tweets about how little kids make her pussy wet. It's fucking gross. She's a mother.
I see this. I want to eat it up.
Yeah, you have no idea what it feels like to like watching little girls do the splits and shit. It's fucking weird. She's a fucking mother. She has children, and she says this fucking shit about children. You're a mother. You're a fucking mother,
Even if you are a comedian, even if you're joking, there's a level at which you make a few jokes, in which you're basically trying to let everyone know. And again, like, are you cool with it? Hey, are you? It's like when you're at a party and they're not sure what your sympathies lines are like, and they really want to lay down a line. It's one of these.
Yeah, exactly. This happened to me.
Right.
Many
times. You don't want to maybe you're not into it. Maybe I'm going to feel embarrassed if I do this shit. They kind of ditch around the conversation. You let them know, yeah, I'm totally on board. Break that shit out to you, bumper. Like, no, that's not my fucking cup of tea, man. Thank you, but no. You know what I mean? Same thing. Sexual proclivities, this and that. I'm not going to lie to you guys, man. I've known many, many gay men that I thought were awesome, that were incredible, that were some of the most stellar and upright human beings, that are absolute just marvels of humanity. And I know some fucking piece of shit I wouldn't mind cracking there with a fucking rock. You know what I mean? Because they're predatory fuckwads, okay? On me especially as a young man, you know what I mean? Like, oh, hey, what you hang out with? Do you like beer? Do you like weed? Okay, here's a little beer, a little weed, like a little porno on. And I look at him like, hey, dude, okay, I like you. I get you gay. I don't give a shit. My brother's gay. I don't give a shit. Don't try to cruise me. Don't try to fuck me, or we're going to have a problem. And this little surreptitious shit, like put a regular porno on and, gee, isn't a shame there's no women around kind of shit. Look, I get that you're lonely and horny, but that's deceptive. It's gross. It's no better when you do it than when a straight man does it, so please don't do that shit to me. In this case, the guy was cool about it, right? Another case, met some dude that I thought was a cool dude hanging out, getting in a hot tub and shit, and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And all that point was looking at me like, and I said, do you actually think if you can physically overpower me, now would be a real good time for you to take about 10 steps fucking backwards? I'm about to put you through your plate glass fucking window. So, and it's horrible. So for all the guys out there that are like, women don't need to fucking lean over. If you've never had someone coming at you with that look in their eye, like, I might just hit you no matter what. You know what I mean? You'll never understand what it means to defend yourself against a sexual fucking predator. It's a horrible fucking thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I've had it with some big old burly ugly chicks too. Like, nothing personal, hon, but you are not my cup of tea. You know, fuck now. They're like, oh, you fucking, like, hey. Unfortunately, some people, when they feel that horny urge come on, kind of feel like, just let me do it, shut up, and let me, and it'll be over in 2 seconds, that's okay. It's like, no, it's not, dude. You can go fucking knothole, or a gopher hole, or your hand, or a love doll, or a fleshlight, or anything you want, or finger bang a fucking gear knob, okay? But you don't have any right to take an unwilling person.
Yeah. Let me get on really quick, though, because I don't know how much time we have. Really quickly, okay, so we have the bloodline cabal. That's the royals. They're definitely connected to the central banks, which are currently going down. This is why they released the COVID, to cover that whole crash up, because it's causing crashes in the stock market, all kinds of stuff like that. It's creating havoc. It's connected to the end time stuff. Okay, and for sure, Epstein was messing with those people, and he's connected to Mossad, okay? But he was messing with those people. He was getting blackmail on those people. That's what he was doing. He was controlling them.
Every government tries to do this, try to either goldenrod or honeypot fuckers.
Yeah.
So just be aware of that. If you know it's tuned in, look them up.
Now, the other side, we have NASA. We have Paperclip. Through Project Paperclip, Operation Paperclip, the Nazis came over. Apparently, they started to get power within the government up into the Pentagon. So we've got QAnon, who's probably speaking for the Project Paperclip Nazi side. However, they're no longer anti-Semitic. That they've understood somehow that it's not, basically they're with Israel too, okay? Because they're not anti-Semitic, they're with them. Because they, Jewish people and other peoples, like certain Persian groups, Indian people, actually a few African groups, are more genetically connected to inner earth people. And now that they know that, of course they don't kill them, but now it's homeless people. Okay, because they need degenerates, because we're overpopulated and we won't stop. Now here's where it gets really fucked up. I definitely think they arranged this whole thing so that they could find child molesters, sort of isolate them, get rid of them. However, they arranged this whole thing. They tolerated it, accepted it, promoted it for decades leading up to this, okay? Knowing it was there, allowing it for their own purposes, okay? Now, I've heard that Trump has started, if you don't know, there's a whole bunch of secret space stuff that's actually out there right now. There are giant ships that must have been built off Earth because they're that huge, that look identical to Lockheed technology, because I live right around the corner from Lockheed. Looks like B-2 stuff, the black flat stuff with the sharp edges. They have giant ships somewhere. They have just enough technology to think that they have enough technology to take on the inner Earth people and the other peoples that live and watch us from the solar system. And they are dead wrong. He might as well be Nimrod trying to frickin' climb the frickin' Tower of Babel. That's how stupid that is.
You can probably find this on some free books thing. I know there's a free books app to it. But you want to read The Coming Race by Edward Bulwer-Lytton. Coming Race, Edward Bulwer-Lytton, which talks about inner Earth and the societies, talks about Vril energy, which is a whole other thing we can go into for hours. There's tons of stuff. You guys can look it up, okay? But I've always been fascinated at the point where, fact meets fiction or fiction crosses over into fact. And it's with a lot of things, again, I think people with science is a methodology. It's not a set of answers. So what seemed eternally true, even maybe just, a couple of decades ago, let alone a century ago, is now understood as just one more step, kind of a mood of cognition, so to speak, and a path not fully understood.
Yeah. So
I try to be an empiricist. I try to dismiss nothing out of hand, and I try not to just overly accept shit with like, okay.
Exactly. That's kind of I look into stuff nobody will look into. That's all I do.
There's a lot of things up there. Okay, and as far as the inner Earth theory goes, these are things we try to talk about things. Neither of us really wants to put ourselves at over much risk. in terms of like, the great revealers of shit that no one else knew about. So anything we're talking about, you can already find on YouTube.
I just want you to know that it's
But check out Operation High Jump, okay, if you want to see something about where Bird goes down the Antarctic and supposedly had found an inner Earth thing and it gets really weird. Then you get the whole, subarctic Nazi regime and all that kind of stuff. But it's weird how all these, you can only have so many things that are so disparate, right, over much time
Say
with
the same
no actual
stuff.
connection.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And not. And basically still link up, right?
I mean, where do fairies live? They live underground. They live in the underground.
Yeah.
Where do jinn live? Well, they live above ground, but they're still pretty much related to them, They're like the same beings.
But the point is that you have all these different cultures with all these different tales that will tell you that we came from below Earth, that there's people below the Earth, that this thing
even
below Earth.
Pacific Islanders will tell you that they came up from under the Earth sometimes. And it makes me wonder if some of them didn't come up from under the Earth, and were released up above there after something, in a similar way to the Hopi. But here's the Book of Enoch actually ties into the inner Earth, because in the Book of Enoch there are 3 large cavernous spaces within the Earth where the souls of the dead go. And one of them is a good place, and one's a bad place, and one's a kind of mediocre place. But you definitely want to be in the good place. But they're in the inner Earth, and it basically to me implies, when having read that and many things, that it's sort of like a machine that these people are in charge of that manufactures consciousness, as in people like us.
Well, anyway, she's getting to there's a rumor rolling around that he's
trying to take on the inner Earth people.
And my joke was, well, that may or may not be true, but a humongous fucking sinkhole just opened up in Siberia, and no one's really sure how that fucker got there. So
yeah, exactly. But I'm just saying, like, if he thinks he's going to take them on, I was going to talk about the Kalki avatar. The final avatar of Vishnu at the end of the Kali Yuga, which is where we're at, is the Kalki avatar, and he will come on a horse with a flaming sword, riding across the sky, and that sounds exactly like Jesus from Revelation, doesn't it? Well, the Kalki avatar will be born in the inner Earth, because it specifically says he'll be born in Shambhala, which is the central place in the inner Earth over there in India. Like, here in America it would be Shasta, but you would
not Shangri-La, Shambhala.
Shambhala,
so people confuse the two.
Yeah, they come from the same idea, but Shambhala is the older. Yeah, and it's anyway, yeah. So he'll be born in the inner Earth to a line of priests in the inner Earth, and he'll come, and if you see a horse riding across the sky, it's their version of Bluebeam, but it's like it's real, but it's a ship projecting something. It's dimensional, kind of. So it's like, yeah, they're if he takes on the inner Earth, all he'll be is the Antichrist, okay? Because, first of all, the Christ will come out of the inner Earth. And secondly, he is guilty of so much evil stuff that even if he's taking down cabals and feeling like a hero, he's doing horrible, horrible things himself, okay? That he may think he gets forgiven for because he's the president, people will tell themselves things are okay that aren't okay, and people do things out of selfishness and evil that other people do out of love, okay? And I'm telling you, if he takes on the inner Earth, and people will follow him. This is the thing. People will follow him because he's been taking down the child molesters. And they'll go, oh, he's a great guy. He did actually take down the child molesters. But this whole thing has been orchestrated by the cabal from the very, very beginning. And he may not know he's being set up as a patsy, but they do, first of all. And he's just, it's not a smart move to take him on. That's all I'm saying. And if it's not him, it'll be the next person. But I'm pretty sure he's been talking about taking him on, thinking that we should, he doesn't understand the position we're in. We're basically kind of like their children. They literally have a legal right to us because we're considered so violent. And we have to earn our way out of that. And he doesn't understand that. If he takes them on, they'll just wipe out everybody who's bad.
We are like starling dogs or spastic chimpanzees, them folks. And if you get pissy with that, watch the evening news.
They're super pacifistic is the thing. The reason that they haven't done this is
in
because
a social setting. They cannot understand the idea that one many would be, you know what I mean? Like it's like
they have
a rusty link or a gear out of place. Like You know, and again, it's not a link. It's not it's cognizant. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To be cognizant and still be dysfunctional, so to speak.
Yeah.
But that's because their society has no room for dysfunctionality the way ours is. It's created. This society thrives off dysfunction. It makes a profit.
Exactly.
When they shoot you into a negative position, it's making somebody somewhere a lot of money or a lot of energy or both. I mean, it's either feeding their pocket, it's feeding some negative entity a lot of energy, or both.
Like literally, they have a kind of a united mind. So even someone who's a little bit rebellious is not rebellious in the sense that they're not. If you have a perfect society, you have nothing to rebel against.
Right. Again, they're not being rebellious. It's just more questioning.
But they might more curious, more exploratory. That's how that is. There's no such thing. Yeah, exactly. Like they separated themselves from us for a long time ago, and they did it for a reason. Because when you live on the surface, the stars become very negative. It really affects your body, your biology, your personality. People still get up and out of here, and you don't have to just disappear into nothingness. That's the ultimate form of ascension.
The rainbow body we're talking about.
That's the ultimate one, but there are several different types. Like you can actually die, be cremated, and if there's a rainbow, then you've achieved it after death. There are the people who are very well preserved people who after death don't appear to rot. Those people are not fully ascended. They're actually in a middle world. They're staying kind of in a heavenly middle world, helping people. But they're not even fully ascended, actually. But this is one of the reasons for cremation that can actually assist if you do get into a place where you're kind of stuck. If you want to be stuck, some people like it. Some people do that on purpose. There are monks who do it. But eventually, you want to vibe up and out here.
And even though LA is a destination, you're digging that cool little great station you're at for a little while.
But listen, within one lifetime, it's definitely possible to achieve agelessness and to create for yourself a strong enough body to transfer into that you can continue your work on the astral plane, or you can reincarnate and continue if you can't even get that far. But you can definitely create agelessness, and there's lower levels that you can achieve. And there are steps along the path, which I'll talk about on the town.
And that's what you're yakking out is that it's kind of a vampiric delusion. You know, it's a quicker path. Like, if you want agelessness, if you want youth, you want all this stuff, just do this thing, and you'll get it relatively quickly, comparatively. You know what I mean? And you'll get a huge boost, but you're doing it in such an evil, negative, hateful, hurtful, parasitic, predatory way that even though you, being as you are now, can't feel it, can only feel the joy coming in it, when you actually die or move on or whatever, and you understand what you have done to that thing, now understanding you're a part of that thing, the pain and the horror, and that's...
To be honest, I'm pretty sure it destroys parts of their souls, and this is why they become very hollow looking and very, they look bad, and it's because the way they look bad, because they don't actually have souls anymore. They destroyed them through this horrible thing they've done.
Your ability to feel compassion, to feel empathy, to feel another's pain, to another's suffering, and honestly feel bad about it from a positive point of view, and like, this is stupid, this is pointless, there's no need for this serves no function, you know what I mean? This serves no purpose. They're not going to learn from it. They're just suffering for the sake of suffering, because that either A, pleases a negative person who's deriving pleasure from their pain, or a negative entity, or in most cases both. The person doing it, not even realizing a fucking horrible thing, is using them as a literal fucking silly straw.
Yeah, basically they're hollowing these people out so they can use them as puppets to play their little political games. It's just like politics on an evil level of reality playing themselves out.
And as you lose the ability to have compassion, you literally lose yourself.
I mean, basically these guys at one point would have actually had real power coming from above, but when it gets dark, when we go into the Kali Yuga, they lose the ability to connect to those higher forces. And they know before they even go in here that this is going to happen, but they forget. That's the whole point. And then they turn to evil, and this is the test. Will you turn to evil? And they do. They turn to evil almost always. And then at the end, now they're worshiping basically, it's like as if someone was worshiping everything that you hated about yourself. You know, it's like you're worshiping the side of Venus that's only lustful and that only is vain, and she's like, I'm more than that. You know, it's like, but all you care about is the fucked up parts of these people, and that's like kind of messed up. You know,
this idea of black, white, instead of seeing things as they are, kind of endlessly circling whole. You know, there's no real true division, so to speak. There's no real black independent of the white and no white independent of the black.
Like,
we tend to see that Eastern thing versus Western. Western minds are like polar opposites, you know, good, evil, black, white.
Exactly.
You know, and just like, it's here and it's here. They never connect, they never meet other stuff. It's like, and again, Eastern is the whole yin yang yin yo. They're endlessly flowing halves. They're just part of each other. You know, you have to acknowledge that this is that. You know, they can't exist. Again, day can't exist without night. You know what I mean? Moon can't exist without the sun. And you'll see all this in the Hermetic magic. But as I say, this thing about Western civilization, it just loves to polarize shit so much in order to get this super torqued out energy. And it comes
it's just
from
feeding on
fear.
itself.
Fear of pain and suffering and violence, and then the corresponding anger that comes from having been afraid. I mean, you really want to look at it. What motivates Western society absolutely is sex and violence, or put another way, sex and death. And if you watch commercials, you'll see that they're about, the food commercials and like that are either your fear of dying, and then well, better you watch the lie. I don't want to die. I want to eat. I want to feel better, right? Or the idea of like associating with sex, or both. You know what I mean? And if you watch, they have done so much to really just continually hype people up, to keep people with this frenzied state of just constant consumption and constant want and constant need, constant desire. You know what I mean? That you really only understand when you kind of get out from civilization, you get away from all the media, and you just been on your own, away from everything except nature for about a day, about several days to a week, and you go like, man, there's so much shit running around in my head, and I have all these unconscious impulses to just eat constantly and drink constantly and this constant, and where's it all coming from? It's coming from someone who's saying, do this shit and buy it because it's making me fucking money.
Yeah, it's coming from the commercials. They actually do have subliminals in those things. They get into you to such a point that you start to crave. They know how to press the buttons in your brain.
Just never forget, guys, that the whole point of it is to make you the best puppet possible and to jerk your strings so subtly and so precisely, you don't even realize that they're strings.
Yeah.
You don't even realize that they're being jerked. You just think, oh, you know what I mean?
This is why
like Cabin in the Woods, stoner guy going, I'm going to go for a walk. And it's maddening because when you know it's there, when you know that there's this control, when you know that these kind of things, you're like, well, my thoughts are my own, my thoughts real. And all you can really do to keep from going mad is just breathe calmly, center yourself, and go, okay, what do I, after careful consideration and calm cogitation, really want or feel like I want? And is it healthy for me now and later? And if it is, then you're pretty much cool. But it's like you suddenly get some urge for something in the store, and you're like, what? Because that commercial's still resounding in your unconscious. So don't blame yourself, guys. Understand that you're constantly being manipulated and motivated, that they need you to buy, pay, and that the corollary of that is to feel like, oh, now I got to live like a hermit, never buy anything nice, never anything. No, man, just try to get stuff with discretion.
Yeah.
And more importantly, is to say what a lot of it has been, as we now see, with all the problems in China, is how many of our goods have been made by slave labor, slave manufacturing, which takes jobs out of, communities, which doesn't give people the ability to be employed, to have a decent life, to have housing, and then has other people in other countries producing all those goods and services at a far cheaper rate, right, forcing them to slave manufacture. And it's just this ongoing cycle and circle. So just in the next couple of days, try to really be aware of where everything you buy comes from. And especially when it's your food choices, try to buy locally if you can.
If you can. I mean, literally, if we all just bought locally, first of all, you wouldn't need all the trucks and their pollution to take it across the country. Second of all, you're supporting small farms and not corporate farms, which corporate farms are evil, both to plants, to nature, and to animals. It's all bad. Local farms are doing it on a smaller scale. They can do things in a more old-fashioned way, And one of the reasons I like Kerrygold butter is because it's done the old-fashioned way, small herds, the cows are well taken care of, they're happy. But, I'm so glad we get to talk to you guys about this.
Yeah, thanks again for bearing with us, man. So we've been on and off due to the heat and the noise, and just we're really looking to be able to set up a situation where we can have a nice private discussion with the group and not get interrupted all the time. But, it is what it is. Catch as catch can.
It's cool.
So hopefully we'll all be here a week from now.
Yeah. Let's see what 2020 has to offer.
One another, love yourselves, be well.
Yeah,
and
stay
we'll talk
good,
to you
guys.
next week.
I love you.
Again, thanks for tuning in, guys, and bearing with us. We love you all.
Okay.
I don't want to go away.